Light bulb.
Yeah, let me first say, I apologize, I was with the school board. That's why I was late, I apologize. So I am Rob, I am doing well now. Time constraint 7. I don't have any elephants, except for Kevin's Dolphins beat my Giants last today. And I'm glad I didn't go, Kevin, at this point. Expectation, make progress.
I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm doing well. Missing, I think has been noted. I think we do have everyone here tonight. Maybe Elizabeth Peterson. No time constraints, no elephants, and I will go with make progress.
Good evening, I'm Heather Leonard. I don't have any time constraints this evening. The missing have been noted. I'm doing very good. And I have elephants, and I'll go with make progress for expectation.
Good evening, Amy Desmore. I'm just fine. Yep, we got the missing noted. No time constraints or elephants, and my expectations are I like to make progress.
Kimberly Hutchins, I'm good. Noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and make progress.
I'm Carl, I'm fine. This has been noted. I do have a time constraint where I have to go to another event, so I'll be leaving around 6:20-ish. I'm splitting it because I'll get there late, but I want to stay as long as I can here. No elephants, expectations, make progress.
I am Christine Trode. I'm here, missing noted, no time constraints except for 7. No elephants for this meeting, expectations make progress.
I am Rachel Gould. I'm well. No time constraints, no elephants, and get an orange circle.
I'm Jessica Duncan, I'm good. Missing's been noted. No time constraints, no elephants, and expectations are to make progress.
I'm Ben Osman, I'm good. The missing's noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and the expectation is to make progress.
Shannon Johnston, I'm doing great. Missing's been noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and 7 o'clock. Sorry, no time constraints is 7 o'clock. And the expectation is to make progress and get an orange circle.
Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie, I'm doing well. Missing's been noted. I have no time constraints for this meeting, no elephants for this meeting, and expectation is orange circles.
Mike Ewood, I'm doing good. Missing's noted, no time constraints, no elephants, expectation, orange circles.
Hi, I'm Suzette Rivera. I'm doing well. Missing has been noted. No time constraints, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Hi, I'm Kurt Fazone. I'm doing fine. I'm Director of TALC and Chief Negotiator for the union. Maybe I'm not doing fine. Missing's been noted. No time constraints or elephants. Expectation, make progress.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, that's better. That was just Kurt Fazone, Director of FBA. He's fine, he has no elements, he has no time constraints, and I think he wants to make progress. I am Kevin Daly, President of the Teachers Association of Lee County. I'm fine, missing's noted, no time constraints, no elephants. And yeah, 5 in a row for the Dolphins. So there you go. Expectations are make progress in orange circles and happy night.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano. I'm doing quite well. I am a full-time peer collaborative teacher at Varsity Lakes Middle and the vice president of TALC. Missing has been noted. I don't have any time constraints, but we have food coming from Three Peppers, so I will probably need to step out around 5 or 5:15. So if I get up around that time and step out of the room, it's because I'm just meeting our delivery people. So I just wanted to put that out there, but I'll be right back. No elephants, and my expectation is orange circles.
Good evening, my name is Anna Witten. I am a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary as well as the TALC secretary. I'm doing well, missing's been noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and let's make progress.
My name is Samantha Howard. I'm a full-time PCT at Harns Marsh Middle School. I am well. Missing has been noted. I have no time constraints or elephants, and I'll go with orange circles, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Shay Pearson. I am a testing coordinator at Island Coast High School. I'm also the TALC treasurer. I'm doing well. Missing has been noted. No time constraints. No elephants, and I'd like to see us make progress.
Good evening, I'm Amy Johnson. I am a 6th grade teacher at Mariner Middle School. I am doing well. Missing is noted, and I have no time constraints, no elephants, and I agree with the orange circles.
Good evening, my name is LaShonda Hutchins Colon, and I am the math coach at Franklin Park Elementary, and I am well. I have no time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and I also want to make progress.
Good evening, my name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker. I am doing well. Missing has been noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and my expectations are to make progress, but I'm also compelled to say orange circles.
Good evening, I'm Louis Fisher. I'm the director of bands at Gateway High School. I'm doing a lot better since the Dolphins beat the Giants yesterday. Missing has been noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and expectation is to finish in a timely manner.
Good evening, I'm Christina Stewart. I'm doing very well today. Missing is noted. I'm the kindergarten through 5th grade art teacher at Tortuga Preserve Elementary. I'm doing well. Missing's noted. Time constraints, just leaving at 7. No elephants, and expectations are to make progress, please.
Good evening, my name is Bob Scapatullo. I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm also on the board of directors for the TALC, being a area coordinator, and I'm doing fine. I'll even be doing better if the Patriots beat the Bills tonight. That'll be very nice, and win, okay, win. Missing is noted, time constraints, as long as we're home by 8:15. No elephants, and expectations would be to make progress, please.
My name is Mario De Verstal. I'm doing well, and missing's been noted. I'm over at South Fort Myers teaching math. No time constraint, no elephant, and I'd like to make progress.
Good evening, I'm Tara Sherman. I'm the school counselor at Raymond C. Page Elementary. I'm doing great, missing is noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Hi, Amanda Guzman, I'm doing well. Everybody's been noted, missing, no time constraints, elephants, and expectation. I enjoyed the orange circles.
I'm Amy French, I'm doing well. Missing is noted, I do not have any time constraints, nor do I have any elephants. And my expectation, I also like the orange circles. All right, and good afternoon, I'm Donna, I'm doing well. Missing time constraints, open expectation. I thought when I left early last week that you'd all be done by today, but I guess not. So we're just gonna have to go having more orange circles. And with that, worked very well, but that's okay. Not sure where we're going to proceed. Rob, you have questions?
Well, I think there's some desire to do snapshots of some type. This is really loud, sorry about that. But we also have a presentation relative to compensation. The problem is we only have one screen. So I don't know how that impacts that, although I think our team's familiar with it, right? Right. Yeah, okay. So what's the pleasure of TALC?
The only other thing that I know we really need to get done is calendar for a couple of sessions in, I guess, the beginning of the year. So I'm not opposed to starting with the compensation presentation. I don't know if that's what you want to do.
Or we could do calendar to start off.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. We do have a session next Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday.
I'm sorry?
We have a session Thursday, right?
No, we don't have anything next week, so we're looking at the beginning of the year.
Oh, we don't?
No. No, we talked about that at labor management. This is our last one.
Oh, I haven't. We all have it on our calendar for the 16th, so.
No.
That never.
Oh, it was supposed to be taken off. Since that's the last week of school.
Okay. So cancel that?
Yes.
Okay.
Cancel. Now where do you want to go? January, I assume.
I guess so, but the problem is, first day back would probably not be the best choice to make. I think the week after that.
Coming from both sides, so.
The week after that, the TALC president is in Tallahassee. The Monday after that is Martin Luther King Day. So I guess we'll have to do something maybe off of a Monday night.
Yeah, let's choose some dates other than Mondays.
All right, suggestion for dates?
Well, let's just.
January?
Yeah, what about Tuesday the 4th?
I hear the 4th and 5th being turned around. We can't just do them.
Yeah, the 5th is e-board.
Can't do the 6th.
So it'd have to be the 4th.
Okay. Is that good for you guys?
4th, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
everyone?
It's next year.
You can't make it. January 4th, 2022. All right, that looks like a good day. Another day?
Well, we gotta leave dates for SPALC, remember, potentially. Although we may conclude with them, I'm not sure at some point.
And if we do 2 weeks, do you want to look at the 18th?
Well, I'd like to be able to meet more than that. I mean, I don't know about what the pleasure over there is, and I understand, school people, it's more difficult, but yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
I'm out the entire week of the 10th through the 14th in Tallahassee. And actually, I'm probably out the 7th as well.
So I just asked this because I'm naive. Can the team bargain without you or no?
According to Kerr, they typically don't.
Okay.
I've never not been here, so.
Okay, all right.
leave a week for spell to try to get together.
And is there any possibility of another date, the week of the 3rd, other than the 4th? Like the 6th?
No, we have Insurance Task Force, and then I have Central Labor Council after that, so. And the 5th is our E-Board meeting.
5th they can't. So the week of the 10th through the 14th is out, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm out of town that whole week.
The following week,
The following week, I think the 19th, we have something that should be our regular rep meeting.
What about the 17th?
I think that's okay.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
18th?
fine, I'm good with the 18th.
Okay.
Speak up, anybody? And these are really
Okay, now.
loud.
so the 18th, okay.
Want to do something on the 20th also that week?
Thursday.
It's hard I don't like to leave my students that much, and I understand, I mean, I guess I could come in late, but I know as a middle school teacher, I have class until 4 o'clock, so. And I always feel guilty when I leave them. So, I mean, I can come in late if you guys don't mind. It's probably gonna be like 5 o'clock coming from the Cape, but.
That's up to your team. We're okay with that. That's up to your team.
Bob has his hand up.
Yeah, I just want to agree with Amy. You know, when we leave middle school, we're missing that last period. And when we're missing like 2 or 3 in 2 weeks, that gets to be a little bit too much.
Okay. Another suggestion, we have January 4th, January 18th so far.
So there's you, Bob, and one other, and Amy, those are the 2 middle school folks? Oh, there's 3.
No, I could remember for different reasons.
Okay.
I'm high school.
Can we push the time back?
Bob?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, if you don't mind us being a little bit late, I mean, because to get here, in order for us to get here, I'm missing part of my next to last period plus my whole period. So, I mean, if you guys don't mind us getting here a little bit later, maybe it might be 5, with all the traffic though, you're talking, I mean, 5:30. I'm wondering if it's even worth it.
That's up to your leadership. I mean, we're fine with you coming in late. Our people have to come in late occasionally. I mean, I came late today.
So Kurt, bring it over to Kurt.
Since we already have 2 dates, can we stick with those and iron out some more in the next, like, couple days or so? That would give us time to kind of coordinate all of our schedules, and maybe we can pick a few more dates that are a little off cycle.
Okay.
That's fine. We have the 4th and the 18th, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only 4 p.m. Okay. So that's as far as we're gonna get on calendar. What about the presentation? Would TALC like to see the presentation next?
That's fine. Okay.
All right.
And the microphone to Dr. Desimores.
You're up. We're down to 1 screen, so if you have to move around.
Kurt, could you give Amy the number up there, over there? The Unite number.
171979.
Say the number again.
Number again.
171979.
Can y'all see that over there okay? Okay. So I cannot, but I'm just gonna be talking and I'll be moving through, looking at my screen. And so is interactive. If you have any questions as I'm going through, please don't hesitate to interrupt and ask. So we just wanted to give a little background information in terms of the budget, some historical information, and then where we are this year and what brings us there this year. So first of all, we have had as a district 12 straight years of student growth, with the exception of FY21, which we'll call the COVID blip, right? But we're on track to meet our FTE growth for this year, which we projected at over 96,000 students. So since 2008, that's almost a 16,000 student enrollment growth. That we've had in our district, which we're one of the very few districts across the state that can say that we've consistently grown in that way. And this year, as far as what we received in state funding, or that is in our FEFP allocation for this year, we received an additional $11.2 million, which equates to an increase in funding of 1.46 from the state. That broke down in different ways, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but the kind of main number I want you to remember off of that is that 1.46%. And then the state also allocated across the entire state $50 million in additional funding for that minimum base salary for teachers of $47,500. So our district's piece of that additional money was about $1.5 million. And with that, the state expects everybody to achieve that minimum of $47,500. And just to note that that does not fund all TALC. The money that we give for the teacher salary increase, remember, they kind of outline specifically who's eligible to receive that money in terms of classroom teachers. We, of course, as you know, negotiate with the whole entire unit. And so there was additional monies from district allocation just outside of TSIA, or that teacher salary increase allocation, that was put in order to make sure that we encompassed all of our people in TALC and not just those that the state defines as classroom teacher. And then that all, inside of the FPFP, there was also a $53.42 increase in the base student allocation, or that is that base amount of funding that we get for every student that comes in the door. Say all that to say all of these things are important, because as we look at all of the money or all of the funding that we get from the state, part of what that's supposed to encompass is the large growth that we see each year. So more kids cost more money, of course, and of that increase, a portion of it breaks down to growth, the vast majority of it, and then the rest of it might be some kind of inflationary factors or additional money that they may give us, but it's pigeonholed or earmarked for very specific purposes. So this is just a salary breakdown by group for you, so you can see kind of across the district as we budget for salaries how everybody's group compares to each other. So the largest part of the circle is the instructional portion of almost $335 million, and then you see how everybody else breaks down in comparison to that. So there's $517.5 million budgeted within the budget this year for salaries, and as you would expect, the instructional portion of that is the largest portion. Now, in addition to that, this is just the base salary breakdown, and in addition to that, there's also benefits as well. So meaning health insurance, Social Security, and retirement, all of those things cost money, a healthy amount of money. And so this shows the breakout of that. Again, as you would expect, the instructional portion is the largest portion, but then you see where everybody else breaks down for a total of about 194 million across the district for benefits as well. And then that little other sliver you see there, which is a very small portion, but it just represents board members and then our short course instructors. So, and we have that noted down there on the bottom. So let's talk a little bit about fund balance, and our fund balance number is, we kind of list it for you here by year, and then the increase or the decrease from the previous year. And this is important. I believe that we started having some conversations about this like at the very beginning of our process here together. And while there was no formal information request, there was just questions about it, so we wanted to go through it. So from 2017 through 2022, you see the fund balance number here. Fund balance is that money that is not expended at the end of the year that basically rolls over to the next year. So that's what we mean when we mean by fund balance. But there's a lot of different things in there, which we're going to talk about the breakdown of in a little bit. So you'll see in 2018, we had several years where fund balance was really was coming down, and that was by design. We had done and we knew that we had structured, basically our salary increases was the reason behind that. Over those years that consistently we had given more salary increase than what was absorbed, than what was given, than the increase that was given to us from the state. So we knew over time that would bring down our fund balance, and we had a concerted plan to do that in a very responsible way. And then you'll see a large increase in 21 and 22 of the fund balance. So let's go in and talk about why that had happened. So just to be clear, what makes up the fund balance, and like I said, it was that unexpended money at the end of the previous year that rolls into the next year. There are various things that can cause that, and these are some of the things listed that you'll see usually causes it, right? We've got unfilled positions, we've got money at schools and departments that are budgeted for them and don't get spent, donations that are made, we've got profits that are made from fee-based programs that stay with those schools, and then there's a requirement at the state that we keep a certain level of unused dollars so that we can show to them that we're financially responsible. We don't get taken over and financially monitored by the state. You may have read some of that going on in different counties, including, I think Hillsborough is the closest one to us, who has been going through that recently. Certainly we don't want to be in that position, and so there's certain amounts that you're required to keep. And as I had mentioned earlier, we had a plan to kind of systematically reduce that fund balance over a period of time based on the salary increases that we were giving, knowing it was above and beyond the monies that we were really receiving from the state, because you can only do that for so long before you have to level it out. So let's talk a little bit about the recent fund balance growth, because in this slide here, you'll see that there was some big increases in 2020, or that is 2021 and 2022, our current fiscal year. You see those two numbers on the side there. So with the recent fund balance growth, that really all has to do with all of the kind of different and crazy things that have happened since COVID hit. So at the end of 2020, there were some things that we were doing that came to a halt. Of course, when we stopped having school in person at the end of the 2020 year, there were lots of things that would typically happen that didn't happen. We weren't running buses, so we weren't buying gas. We weren't traveling, right? So monies that were budgeted for professional development weren't happening. We weren't paying for substitutes because, widely we did not need them. Supplies for schools and departments that would have normally been used because kids were there were not being used. So those types of things didn't happen. So these are just some of the ideas of what it was that had traditionally been happening and had been planned for that all of a sudden came to a screeching halt, which meant that some of the money that we had budgeted didn't get spent and rolled over into the next year, which was the reason why you see the larger increases in the fund balance for those years. And then during the next year, 2021, for those monies that roll into 2022, we have, we had face-to-face instruction, virtual and home connect for many locations, which again, were bringing down amounts that were paid in different areas that we would need for face-to-face instruction. Some of our people didn't come back as we had budgeted them to come back, and so you see that. And again, travel, items like professional development, these things just weren't happening. So again, a larger increase in the fund balance in 2021 rolling into 2022. As we all know and can imagine about some of the things that we would typically do that just weren't happening because of the circumstances we were in related to pandemic. So let's do a fund balance breakdown, right? Because that is a large number, but what does that large number really mean? And so we broke it down a little bit here to be able to talk about it a little bit more. So you have the different categories here. And I apologize that we didn't send this to you ahead of time, but we will send it to you so you'll have it. So if you're trying to feverishly write down numbers and all of that, you don't necessarily need to, because we can send you a copy. But you see of the fund balance for FY22, 164.4 million, there's a breakdown here. So we've got school budgets, right? So those budgets that are laid with schools that roll over from one year to the next of about 11.4 million. We've got profits from school-based programs that across the district total closer to 7 million. Outside donations, we've got certain categoricals that must be used for specific purposes that have rolled over. And then at the bottom there, you see that required 3% contingency. So that was what I was talking about in terms of at least what we have to keep in order for the state not to monitor us. So that's what that means. And then you got kind of your unrestricted one-time funds that are left over at the end of all of that. So of course, the question that comes up all the time is, well, why can't we just use all of those funds for salary increases? They're sitting there, they haven't been used, they got rolled over. Like, why can't we just use that? And so we wanted to address that question just a little bit. So since the fund balance is made of specifically unused funds, especially budgeted positions, they only become one-time funds. In other words, once they're gone, because the expectation is that some of those things that were supposed to happen that didn't happen will happen again. And so we're going to rebudget for those things in the future unless we know for sure they're just not happening, right? Which typically is not the case. So with fund balance, with a salary increase, once you budget a salary increase, then that salary increase costs you that amount moving forward every single year. It's not just like you cover it one year and then it goes away. It's a recurring expense, or it keeps happening, right? For fund balance, it is basically a one-time pot, and so once that money is gone, it's gone. There's no regenerating that. And so districts have to be careful about using one-time dollars, or that is fund balance, on things like salary or anything else, which would be a recurring expense that would happen over and over. So once you hit the wall, you hit the wall. And so what have we done in the past to reduce that fund balance? What you saw for several years, it had been reduced off simply because we had been providing more salary increase than what we were getting from the state. So the fund balance, as per the original plan, was coming down. I'm sorry, who was raising their hand? I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't see you.
Amy, can you go back one slide, please?
Here?
Yeah, in the second bullet.
Wait till you get the mic off. Please.
Yeah, the second bullet, Amy, I'm kind of confused on. I'm reading the first line. I don't understand what it says. Salaries increases are not one expenses.
So, right, one time. I'm sorry, it's missing a word. My apologies. So it should say salary increases are not one-time expenses.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. I will update it. Any other questions? All right. I think I finished that. Okay, so in terms of the bargaining authority, and I'll just go right into that. So then, and then turn it over to Rob for any additional comments or any additional questions. So as far as the bargaining authority that has been obtained from the board, we're at 14.5 million from district dollars for all staff. And what that is an equivalent to a 2.5% increase for all staff. Of course, we have to talk options, so I'm not saying that's what it is, it's just what the equivalent is. TALC's portion of that $14.5 million pot, based on your salary, your unit's salaries, is 9.4 million. Then in addition to that, there's the additional 1.5 million from the teacher salary increase allocation. Remember, I was saying earlier we have received an increase in that from the state, so that's 1.5 million. Additional dollars that add to that $9.4 million pot, and that must be used according to the rules of the teacher salary increase allocation. We have, in addition to that, already approved and already in the MOU that have been agreed to by both bargaining units, the $7.5 million that it will take for the $1,000 bonus for all active employees that did not previously receive the bonus from the state. So even though for the December payment, there's many in your unit that won't be receiving that because they had already received it from the state, there still is people in your unit that will receive it because they were new to us this year. So they would receive it. In addition, we had also asked for some permission for 25 million proposed from the ESSER dollars for additional one-time payments to come later in the year. That would be 25 million for all employees, right? Not just this bargaining unit, but this was amongst the information that I think we had discussed here the last time in terms of possibly taking that and discussing it in labor management and then bringing it back here, for an agreement. And I think that we had discussed that in a previous bargaining session, if I recall correctly. And then up to 40 million, and that's in future years, fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24, also proposed from ESSER dollars for one-time compensation initiatives. And that's contingent upon state approval. So each of these things, I want to note that each of these items from ESSER, both the 25 million, the 40 million, they're all contingent upon state approval, because not only do we bargain them here, but we also have to submit a report to the state, and the state has to approve how we're using the ESSER dollars. So all of those things are contingent upon the state, which we haven't yet, received any approval for them for that, but we anticipate that we could and that we would. So that's part of it. And then one of them, I wanted to make sure that was noted here as well, was also included in this was an additional 6.5 million estimated for other teacher incentives, compensation related, such as the classroom coverage that we just energetically bargained over the past several sessions and came to some agreement on the last time we met. So I'm going to add that to this slide because I see it's not here and I thought I'd put it there. I apologize, but that's another estimated 6.5 million. So, Did you want to say something about that? That's not included on here. Okay. And there's also I know there's a lot of conversation left to be had on this, but if there was a proposal, or if we moved in the direction of doing additional time for a select number or for all schools for any future fiscal year, then that would be also part of the bargaining authority that we would put in there and would be proposed out of ESSER. Additional time on the school day, basically, if and when we get to that point. So a significant amount of dollars here that are on the table from both the districts, well, all of it's the district's allocation, but from the district's general funds and also from ESSER, hopefully to address some of the issues that we know we have with compensation and wanting to make sure that we're compensating our employees as best we can for all of the hard work that goes on, and that is going on now, that will go on in the future, we know has been going on, for some time. So I'll pause right there and I'll hand the mic down to Will/Rob to see if they have anything they want to add to that, and then I'll be quiet for any questions you may have as well.
Okay, then we'll just open it to questions. Kevin?
Actually, could you bring that back up, please, and thank you. 721-959, please. 959. The last slide that dealt with bargaining authority, I have a TSIA question. And I can start it now. So it says 1.5 from the teacher salary, the TSIA money. Is that our share after the charter school number has been taken over, or do we take it out, or do we have to take out more from that for charter school?
Now, did you say 721-595?
959. 721-959.
Thank you. And that was ours. That was.
Okay, that's ours after
Yeah.
the charter schools have gotten theirs. And so my next question relates to, okay.
I am 90% sure. I would double check that statement.
Okay. And secondly, we came real close last year, $200 ahead. How many people need the $200 to move to 47.5? So how many people did we move to 47.3 next year that would have to move to 47.5?
I could get back to you with that information. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I know we have it, so.
I probably didn't expect you to have an exact number, but I think that's good for the math. And I know there's also some rules related to raises around from the TSIA legislation as well, on top of all that. So I guess.
Yeah, they don't make it, they didn't make it real easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my first set of questions. And so, obviously there'll be no agreement tonight because it's the beginning of an ongoing discussion. So.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. I'm going to hand it back.
All right, anybody else have a question or clarification on something, Bob? I know this is a large process, but.
Yeah, Amy, the third bullet down, the 7.5 million for the $1,000 bonuses for all active employees, that does include SPALC? Correct.
And I'm sorry, which one? Could you repeat your question?
Yeah, the third bullet down, the 7.5 million.
It does include them.
That includes
It includes everybody.
Okay.
So that 7.5 million is for all employees.
Okay.
That didn't previously receive, so that's everybody.
And then you said also, Amy, that you were gonna update the slide showing what we bargained on the last section.
Yes, the additional money that would be estimated to be attributable to other teacher compensation initiatives like the classroom coverage that we talked about.
Okay.
Which we estimate to be about 6.5.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
So this is just quick math, but I was able to pull up a demographic report. There's about 2,000 members of the bargaining unit that are currently at 47,300. And that includes people, I would say experience range anywhere from 0 to 14 years of experience. And that's just because if you're hired from the outside, it basically wiped out the experience credit for incoming people. for people that have been here, it's probably 0 to 8, 9, maybe 10 years. And then again, that's just real rough numbers, just to try and give you an idea.
Any other questions? Kevin?
So if 2,000 people each need $200, right? To get them to 47.5, that's 400 grand. So that 400 grand would be coming out of the 1.5 TSIA allocation. And so we should have some money left over. So I'm not sure that doesn't get us there if that's what we're doing. Maybe I'm missing something.
Rough numbers, that sounds about right. You also would have to calculate in, it's normally about 17.5% for FICA Med FRS. I mean, you could do rough math on that, but when you're looking at total cost, it would definitely be above the 400,000.
Okay, but that's where I think it's because I'm sitting under a speaker kind of, but that money is supposed to exclusively come from the 1.5, correct?
Yes, that's correct. But there's also other rules, I believe, about how you can use that increase once you get to the 47.5.
But we do, yeah, so there will be like roughly $1.1 million left over to follow the other rules of the TSIA money, correct? Roughly.
Roughly, if that 2,000 number holds true, then yes, I agree with your statement.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Anything else? Clarification. All right, you've had the presentation. What direction you want to take now? Kirk?
I'd like to make a data request, please.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to request the same thing that we requested last year. So for each, I guess, returning employee, every employee, in the top bargaining unit, we need first name, last name, did. Am I going too quickly?
No,
Okay.
fine.
The job title or the position, salary level, designation of either classroom or non-classroom, if we're able to do that again. Contract status, continuing contract, PSC, annual contract. Last year, we asked for the hours worked in a year, but you were able to give us the work period and hours per week, so we were able to, calculate all that, so that would be great with, with the hourly rate. Work location, seniority date, and years of experience granted at time of hire, if that's possible. Seniority date or date of hire. And now that I'm mentioning years of experience granted, that might not even matter anymore with the move to 47.3. I'll have to think about that one.
Okay. Well.
So I think we had the conversation last year about the years of experience granted at time of hire. I don't know that we're able to provide that because of like how it's tracked. I think we can provide years X or years L. If that works for you, that would be years of teaching experience or years of district service. And I think for, if I'm guessing correctly, that maybe will like meet the need. If you're trying to look at like that graph that we've shown in the past and kind of where the troughs are, I think we've done that historically based off of years X.
Okay? All right, anything else? Where shall we head next?
I believe that my vice president will shortly be coming in with food. So, and I think where we go from here, honestly, is just back to unfinished business related to, I think we had an option, Anna was telling me, on the table when we left. So, you know, again, kind of back to where we left off.
Amy's trying to grab that option.
Look familiar, Anna? It says, current option six, prep lessons grading for teachers and paid an hour per day at hourly rate. It says that, current option six, prep, and in parentheses, lessons grading for a teacher then paid an hour per day at hourly rate. Anna?
So I don't know exactly what we would call this. I know our discussion from the last session, we were talking about, you know, if you are doing, you know, like the novel lesson plans Jessica was talking about, or the grade book, those other professional duties that we are covering beyond the physical coverage in the classroom. So just kind of talking here, you know, if we potentially wanted to call it the professional duties coverage. And Carly, you were not here last time. So I know that previous sessions, you had mentioned this was situations that you were also facing at your school site as well, just to bring you back up to speed. So I don't know if there's any more further conversation in regards to this, but somehow capturing the work that our employees are doing beyond the physical coverage in the classroom.
Okay, thank you for the explanation, and the update. Any further discussion on that option? I know we had numerous straw designs.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I know this is almost impossible to quantify, but how often is this happening? How atypical is it, or is it typical? It's almost impossible to grasp. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know how often this is happening, or I'm just repeating myself, but you get my gist.
Yes. Sam?
And I know this wouldn't be 100% accurate, but almost at any school where there is an instructional vacancy, somebody is doing that work for those students.
Thank you. Carl?
That would be correct. If there's not a vacancy, if it's something for a day or something, that's, sometimes you could have a situation where someone helps. It goes into those long-term vacancies where there's someone putting the plans together and actually a lot of times grading and doing other things that at least it would vacancy, there needs to be an instructional vacancy tied to it if it was going to be done. In other words, it cannot be just a coverage.
All right, thank you. I have Sam next. Ben?
I mean, if someone's on maternity leave or something like that, a long-term, in COVID 10 days, and someone's putting in grades and stuff, then they should be compensated.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I think we're all on the same page here about what it's going to reflect, that it's not just a day thing or an hour thing, it's a long-term situation. Anything else?
No, I was, I knew exactly when you were talking what you were talking about, because you're right, I did say that is an issue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have the option. It sounds as if everybody's on the same page with the rationale for the option. What direction do you want to go in?
Can we define it somehow? I think we all know what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's just the words to define it.
Anybody have a? Yep. Clearer way to put this? Professional duties.
No, Rachel just said it's sort of like an administrative task or administrative planning or duties or something of that nature. But I think in order to be safe, because this is something really out of the box. It's something I can definitely concur with the need. So what I'm trying to do right now is how do we frame it where not implied, but where it's conducted with consistency and fidelity, and so I think that's the piece that I'm trying to wrap my head around of how to frame it. There's a need for it. It's almost like you almost have to have a checklist of things that it includes is what, in my mind conceptually, is what I'm kind of coming up with. Yeah, something with time.
And I really have to concur because once again, we've gotten reports of schools where you had 4 students absent today, but I only gave you 3, so I'm not giving you any money. And the coverage language has been out there for a while. So again, and I'm not sure that it's the administrators, it's more the principal secretaries maybe who are having this idea. So I think this is an opportunity as we change things to like bring everybody up to what the exact expectation is and stop the idea that like people can go rogue. So yeah, I think we do need to define what it is as specifically as possible.
All right, okay.
And I think back to what Carl's saying. So like, for example, last year when I had to cover for a teacher left in January and I did all the grading, all the things, it's something that's asked for by the administrator. So it's not arbitrarily just somebody steps in to do that position. The administrator came to me and said, look, this is a paraprofessional that we're putting in there. However, they know nothing about math. Guide them. And so I think that if it's directed by the principal, you have a little bit more, that's what I'm looking for, idea of who's doing what and how they're doing it.
All right, so we need to come up with more clear and concise language that everybody can understand and everybody will stay on the same page and we can move forward. Do we need time to put something together or? I see the mic being tapped on the other side over here. Oh. All right, call again.
Okay, and it may sound redundant. In my mind, I am thinking that we almost need some work done on parameters and language. It sounds like conceptually, a lot of it makes sense to most of us, but it's going to be imperative that we lay that out. And the other piece that needs to be part of this, and because of, and I'm thinking down the line a couple of years, this needs to be tied directly to ESSER, that the language that I think it's, because if you don't put it in there, it has to be, because we don't want to make. I think that's best that way. We just don't want to get lost, even though it seems obvious. But is it in there? Like,
No, it's not in the story about ESSER funds.
right, because that's what allows us to be able to really do something like this.
What, can you repeat what you were saying now?
Yeah, it's sunsets. It's sunsets. And before that, I was saying we need to be come to common ground on parameters, process, structure. Because what can happen is things can get lost in translation, so then it becomes, it becomes subjective, and whenever we get to subjectivity, then that's when we have problems, and that's when we go to labor management, and that's when we have all, those type of things. So, so from my perspective, that's the thing. I think that there needs to be a couple of people that work on some of those parameters, what it could look like, what it would entail, like A, B, C, and then it makes it easier to follow.
Well, that was gonna be my next suggestion, is that either we have a subgroup from this group do something, or we go into labor management. So those are usually our two alternatives. We're all on the same page, we just have to get the right language in there. Bonnie?
So similar to the ESSER funds, I think we just need to note on the story that, and I think this is the intent, so it's sort of a question, that this would be separate and apart from the 60 or 75. So if we're paying a teacher 60 to oversee that class, that encompasses all of what we're talking about here. And that is that train of thought. But this is, in the instance, the example I heard was like a para where the teacher's doing the planning and the grading. So I think we need to be clear when we work on this to draw a line between that you can't be on both tracks. You're either on the 60-75 track or you're on this track. So I think that's an important distinction, because when you first started talking about it, my thought was, well, isn't that what we just bargained in the 60 and 75? But then as I heard the story, it is a different animal, but I don't think it's the intent for us to do both of those at the same time. I think it's one or the other.
Hey, Carl? Jill, did you want to say something? Okay.
And not to be offensive or anything, but I think this is not one of those things that needs to be labor management per se, because I don't think, no offense, but I don't think that this side of that deals with labor management would be as privy or understand the implications and one of my favorite things, the unintended consequences if you go in a certain area. So in my mind, I'm thinking someone from academic services and also with TALC instructional teachers that are there, those people that are actually that can reach out to people to kind of try to. We know there's going to be something that's going to be left out whenever you go into something that's out of the box. However, I think it's possible we could come up with some structures that would work.
Evan?
That's great, because I don't know what I don't know. And so I think we're both on the same page here. I think all of us, I think this is a subcommittee with classroom people on my side and administrators and things, and me not kind of in the room because I don't know what I don't know. So I think at this point it's just a matter of who from each side kind of works on this subcommittee group outside of this process, And I think, Bonnie, you're right too, there's two tracks, you're either getting the stuff we just did, or you're getting this. And you know, again, it's down to kind of the little details about, you know, what it's worth but yeah, the subcommittee idea is great. So if somebody wants to work about throwing together a subcommittee, that's fine with me, and we can get this worked out as well.
We can take names.
Is a subcommittee really necessary? Can't we just both caucus and come up with something? I don't know. And maybe I'm naive, but another committee to me means trying to schedule the meeting and coming back with the information. And I mean, I'm like you, Kevin, though. I don't know what I don't know. So, but I was just thinking, you know, we have an hour and a half left. If we caucused and tried to come up with dueling language and then merge them together, we could maybe get this done.
I just know we have 3 really good administrators here, but that means that there are 97 that haven't been heard from, right? And so the idea of maybe not even a committee, just the idea of giving some people some charge to get information and from their peers and their colleagues and come back with, because even though Ben, Rachel, and Carl are there might be something that they can't think of as well, that somebody at a school like Ed Matthews might think of or something. So I'm even reluctant for such a small group just to bang it out in the caucus tonight, because, you know, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be a committee, maybe it just has to be everybody go research and come back with stuff at our next session. And we kind of see how that works, because, you know, I'll take the room every time, and the bigger the room, the better.
You want to go, Carl? Go for it. Okay.
That's all right. I think that, this is me, I believe in going, sometimes I believe in going slow before you go fast, especially when you go out of the box. And this is out of the box, it's something different. And I would rather be, I think that collecting, it doesn't necessarily have to be a subcommittee, but we need to have some type of process where we can send something out to our different levels to make, you know, kind of give a basic framework, because I know Rachel was coming up with something. Could we come up with something that's logical? Yeah, I just don't see, I think it would be best to go through, collect a little bit more feedback, and then, I mean, I think it can be popped out pretty quickly. I'm hesitant of doing it because it is out of the box, and make sure that we've thought of any pitfalls so that we don't, so that 6 months we're not, you know, yeah, that's my thought.
Jill.
And I agree with what Carl's saying, and I'm wondering if it would be helpful to take Rob's suggestion, do a short caucus, put something together that then can be shared out and reviewed. Because I think that sometimes what happens when we put just the idea, like Carl said, the framework, if we just put something out there, sometimes we almost get too much feedback and it's hard to filter what we need. So if we can put draft language together that the administrators and even teachers that we could share with some of our constituents, then we could get feedback on that. And that's when, if Carl sends the language to the high school principals, they can say, well, what about this, this, and this? And they can just send questions to Carl that he can answer, or he can bring back to the table and say, well, these are questions that I couldn't answer based on the language that was presented.
Okay.
So what's the timing of this food? I think that's
It's here.
Oh, it is here. Okay.
Yeah, next door. I helped set it up.
So do you want to caucus and see what you can come up with? And then.
I was kind of waiting. I wasn't sure I was going to call a caucus because of the food. I was kind of thrown off by that.
So I think maybe we take a little break, everybody gets some food, we have a caucus while we eat and come back. But I'm with Carl. I mean, for the class coverage language, I got to tell you, we were 3 or 4 years ahead of the rest of the state. Because I talk to my peers and they just are saying, oh my God, what are people doing about class coverage? I'm like, well, we've got 3 years of language in. And that language was kind of negotiated in this room by a lot of these people. And we thought, you know, we thought we had that pretty well wrapped up in a couple of nights, and it was great, but, you know, I like to say my favorite quote all the time is everybody's got a plan till they get hit in the mouth. And so we had that language out, and we sent that language out, and over the past 3 or 4 years, you know, kind of the holes have been poked in that class coverage stuff, which is why we're kind of reviewing it now. So again, I think, you know, the idea that we send it out and be a little more deliberative about it is good, but I think it's get dinner, have a short caucus, and maybe come back with some stuff.
Okay. Everybody okay with doing that, the dinner caucus, and then come back, what, like 20 minutes?
Teachers are used to 25 minutes taking kids to the cafeteria, eating and getting back with school populations of, go to the bathroom, of upwards of 2,000 students. So this side can probably pull it off in 25 minutes.
Well, and I would counter administrators that used to standing in the cafeteria and nibbling away and continuing to work because we don't get the 25 minutes to sit.
So really, it's the district level administrators that might have to push it.
So the food is
Can we open that?
over next door.
Yeah, can that be open or no?
Yeah.
That's over here. There's also drinks and
Sure. Well, thank you, by the way, to TALC for the food. We really appreciate it, So we had a good discussion about how we would possibly phrase any language related to what we were discussing, came up with some tasks that we would possibly pay teachers for performing, and that was essentially the substance of our caucus.
Thank you. Kirk?
So we had a rather robust discussion as well, and I think we have a decent framework worked out with some examples of duties that can be assigned and some safeguards in there so that it doesn't get out of hand. But that was the extent of our caucus, I believe.
Okay. So we have 10 minutes left. Can we get these on paper in 10 minutes?
What I would suggest is we compare the lists of duties, so to speak, that the teams have and go from there.
All right, is that all right? All right. So who would like to begin with the list?
Sam.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you if we have that on our list.
Okay, that would.
Yeah.
So we didn't really limit it to specific duties, but more parameters in general. But in terms of what would be considered duties, we discussed from the essential job functions of our job description, items like bullet 1, 2, and 8, which cover lesson planning, parent communication, accurate and complete records, counseling with colleagues and students, etc. We weren't really interested in specifying exactly how many, but we were relying on the administrators tasking somebody with those things. But those are some of the things we talked about in terms of what we actually see happening in a building.
All right. Do you want those listed that you put on from that job description, or is one having shouting those bullets 1, 2, and 8?
Do you want me to continue with some of our other parameters?
Some of the things she said are on our list. So, yeah.
Do you want me to just keep going?
Well, I think you need to slow down. You said it really fast, so.
Lesson plan.
Oh, list them out, got it. Parent communication. Maintaining accurate and complete records. Counseling with colleagues and students.
Okay.
And those are the only ones we actually listed out.
Okay, as noted.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
We also had, expecting these individuals to have successfully completed APPLS, so nobody currently enrolled in an APPLS program.
So this is the limiting language now that you're getting into, or?
I'm just going through some of the parameters.
Okay, go ahead.
That includes, with that APPLS, is to clarify with our years L is 1 years plus. Because some people do get exited out of APPLS within their first year based off of some circumstances, so we wanted to have that in there as well. Each vacancy and long-term absence can be covered only by one person, so that planning isn't being divided up through multiple people. The other one we have is that it is administratively assigned. And that it is 1 hour and not listed as a planning, so that it doesn't matter what level you're taking over that vacancy. Per day at the hourly rate.
Okay, that was part of the.
It's part of the original, yep.
Okay, anything else, Sam?
Well, Will has a question, I think, about it.
Bill?
You said years L, and so that would give you credit if you were a para and then you're in your first year teacher as long as you completed apples. Years D, I think, is years of district teaching experience, so I don't know if that would.
Whatever being a teacher for at least having a year under your belt.
Okay.
Was the intent behind.
All right, so I think years D is probably what you were thinking of, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Anything else, Sam?
That should be it.
Okay. And how do we do with yours?
I think pretty well, although I think we were more specific, so if you just wanna take some of these down. I think this is a good exercise, and then we can all kind of leave here and think about all of this. So we had lesson plan creation, grading, coaching and modeling, parent communication, I think they had that, parent communication, yep. And that's it for now.
All right, everybody hear all that and get that? All right, we have 5 minutes to go. Anything else to do with this, or as Roger suggested, just spend some time thinking about it?
And Donna, just to fill in a couple of blanks there, we also had that these would be authorized or directed by the administrator, of course, and that it would be, what's that? Yeah, on their list, and equal to 1 hour at the hourly rate. They had that on their list also, so.
Okay.
We also would include language that they're not receiving compensation for this, for classroom coverage, the other things we bargained the other night, so.
Okay. All right, so we had the presentation from Amy this evening to think about, and Amy did say she'll send that out to everybody. So on your wonderful winter break, you can study it all and come back fully knowledgeable about FTEs and budgets and all that wonderful stuff.
One more thing I just want to add before we leave, I'd be remiss. We also discussed how long the person that they're filling in for, doing this work for, has to be out. Okay? I know they've created some limiting language, but we're not sure of the number at this point, 10 days, 30 days.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Anything else on this topic? Jill?
With what Rob said, the only thing that we did talk about was that the idea that an open vacancy would automatically generate this supplement for a person. So if somebody, basically if somebody, this happens, but if somebody resigned today and they said, I'm done, I'm leaving, and they walk out the door today, that now then starting tomorrow, there would be an open vacancy in that school
So I'm just going, I know you said how many days the person would have to be absent. One of the things that we did discuss that I would want to clarify as we go forward, that if there's an open vacancy, that we don't have to sit and say, okay, well, how long is the vacancy open for? There's no one for that position. Like a vacancy with students, yeah. I believe if I heard Shanna correctly, you said that in elementary, if there's a vacancy, say for third grade, you would take those students and split them the way that you would do like sub-coverage? If it was appropriate, right? So I say that because if there's a vacancy, I wouldn't want a teacher who's starting over and taking over and doing things to have to wait 10 days for that vacancy to count. Obviously, if it's a vacancy, it takes longer than 10 days to hire, but.
Sam?
There's one thing I forgot, and I think Shay for reminding me, we wanted to include the language where this covering for these professional duties would not negatively impact a teacher evaluation.
Okay. All right, last call until 2022. Wow. Kevin?
Just joint communication, hopefully by the end of the week, yeah.
No, I'm good. Everybody have winter break, great winter break. Happy holidays.
Enjoy, get rest, relaxation, have fun. And anything.